Welcome to the first episode in a three-part series about the life of Canute the Great. In part 1, Son of a Conqueror, we will talk about how Canute's father, Sweyn Forkbeard, conquered England, yet Canute would have to fight to keep his inheritance. Canute the Great ranked as one of the most powerful kings of his time. He descended from a relatively new royal dynasty, established by his great-grandfather Gorm the Old. Gorm was a confirmed pagan who revered the Old Norse gods like Thor and Odin. However, Gorm's son, Harald Bluetooth, who supposedly filed his teeth into grooves and then dyed them blue, became at least a nominal Christian. He likely did so in part to stave off a possible crusade by the Holy Roman Empire. Yet that did not stop his kingdom from falling into civil war when Bluetooth's own rebellious son, Sweyn Forkbeard, took up arms against him. Sweyn won the war and Bluetooth fled, dying soon after in exile. Sweyn Forkbeard then became King of Denmark in 986 AD. Soon after, Sweyn of Denmark married a Polish princess named Gunhild. Around the year 995 AD, they begat a son named Canute. He divided his time between his mother's homeland, Poland, and Denmark, a land mysterious to the English and Franks. Christian writers in southern Europe described Denmark as a land of snowy mountain peaks and rugged coastline, patrolled by giant squid and dotted with whirlpools that pulled ships down to hell. Though the Danes became Christian, the old ways died hard. Danes still prayed to gods and spirits as they took communion loaves and attended Mass. Of course, they also went raiding. Canute himself came of age during a time when Anglo-Saxon and Viking warlords fought ferociously for the right to rule England. This conflict escalated after the St. Brice's Day massacre, when King Ethelred of England slaughtered hundreds of Danes living within his kingdom. One of Canute's aunts died during this slaughter. In 1013, while still a teenager, Canute joined his father Sweyn Forkbeard in invading England. This invasion wrought such devastation that the English abandoned the crown and church, which failed to protect them. Terrified bishops wrote of lapses into paganism, witches, idol worship, spell workers, and people using magical stones and wells within their congregations. Their congregants also spoke of Odin and Thor in the same breath as Sweyn Forkbeard and his unstoppable army. In the movements of the moon and sun and fire and blood, scholars saw yet more portents of disaster. As far as we know, this marked the first time that Canute came to England, and Canute fought alongside his father during the 20-day siege of Canterbury, which ended with the Vikings seizing the city and its Archbishop Elfay. In an act of great courage, Elfay refused to help negotiate his ransom from Ethelred's feckless government. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle records that some of the Vikings became drunk on stores of French wine and seized the Archbishop. They then took him to the hustings, and in the words of the Chronicle, they shamefully killed him. They overwhelmed him with bones and horns of oxen, and one of them smote him with the axe iron on the head, so that he sunk downwards with the blow, and his holy blood fell on the earth, whilst his sacred soul was sent to the realm of God. Either desperate or disgusted, or perhaps both, West Saxon notables offered Sweyn the crown, which the Danish king readily accepted. To ensure loyalty, the new king gathered hostages from England's leading families, while Ethelred went into exile in Normandy. Yet for once in that dark time, God appeared to answer English prayers. King Sweyn Forkbeard suddenly died on February 2nd, 1014. The Danish fleet at Gainsborough, which kept the English hostages on the River Trent, hoped for the teenaged Canute to inherit the English crown. The few descriptions of Canute from this time describe him as a handsome, virile young man with a talent for warfare, and Canute likely expected to simply step into his father's place. Instead, the Witenagemot, England's royal council, offered Ethelred the crown again, but only if he promised to keep justice this time. Of course, Ethelred accepted, and once word came of Ethelred's return, Canute retaliated by cutting off the hostages' hands, ears, and noses. He sent the maimed, wailing victims back to their families, expecting that they would testify about the terrible fate which awaited those who defied King Canute. This did not prove enough, and English rebels rose under Ethelred and his son Edmund Ironside. Caught by surprise, King Canute left England and returned to Denmark. There he raised an army to reclaim what he regarded as his rightful inheritance. Canute raised troops in his homeland of Denmark, along with those of his allies Poland and Sweden. He even cheekily demanded some troops from his rival Harold of Norway. In autumn 1015, King Canute sailed 10,000 men for England, and once more, Viking warriors pillaged everything they could find. The political map suddenly changed on St. George's Day 1016 when Ethelred died, which proved devastating to his political career. Upon Ethelred's death, his son Edmund Ironside personally took over the English cause and proved himself anything but his father's son. Edmund Ironside personally led the English army into Penselwood and won a desperate 2-day battle at Cherson. In another bold move, he hurried north of the Thames River and pursued Canute's army across the east of England. His boldness appeared to win over at least one English turncoat, Edric of Mercia, who had gone over to the Vikings but now rejoined Edmund's avenging army. On October 18, 1016, Edmund Ironside's forces met Canute's for a final battle at Ossendun, thought to be Ashington in Essex or the Hill of Ash Trees. Canute had his back to the sea, with nowhere to retreat if the battle went badly. To entice Edmund Ironside to charge, he retreated to a hilltop, but then advanced to a lower height on the hill. After a long and fierce battle, Edric of Mercia again turned his coat. Did he sense the battle turning, or had he connived with Canute from the very beginning? In the end, it did not matter. Edmund Ironside withdrew from Ashington with only a remnant of his army, the flower of England cut by a Viking sword. With no hope left, Edmund agreed to treat with Canute. The two kings met on an island in the river Severn. There they swore oaths upon holy relics and exchanged gifts of clothing and weapons. They left the meeting as sworn brothers, and, like brothers, they divided England between themselves. Edmund Ironside kept Wessex, while Canute held everything else. How long will this peace last? We'll find out in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this installment of the Legendarium. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.